After this, the real block. It's been a little over 4 months since my finance went wayward while on a business trip and I just got around to getting an apartment. I've done the whole roller coaster with her, despair, begging, hysterical bonding, raging, detaching, and ultimately deciding that we needed to separate. She left our home while I took some time to find my own place, my choice. I had a couple of rebound encounters, also some big accolades and a promotion at the office, and finally felt confident again, like I could do this, like I really could start over. So, I finally found a place and signed the lease on Friday. But since then, I've been a sentimental sobbing mess and really miss her. I miss us terribly. One of the rebound women invited me out that evening and she was telling me about some vacations she went on. This triggered memories of my proposal to GF. I've been dwelling on that beautiful but tainted memory since then, sobbing when I finally got home, by myself. It's been a couple of months since I've shed a tear over this disaster. I thought I was done. So now, I keep feeling like I was too quick to call it a day and move on. Maybe it's the finality of separating in as real a sense as an unmarried couple can separate. I don't know. I've been lurking here for a while and really love the insights you guys have. Together 4 years, cohabitating 2 years, engaged since Thanksgiving. Yep, 4 whole months of engagement. I'm 31 and she's 29. She says she loves me and wants to grow old with me. I feel like I've fallen out of love, but that may be my rebound fog. I'm not really in the habit of crying over people. It was a one-night thing, but I just wonder if that was a matter of inconvenience. There was contact after the fact until exposure. I wish sure she was out hooking up, the decision would be easier. I have it on good information that she's not doing well, but I guess you're saying it doesn't really matter. I get the death metaphor, but I can't understand why, after doing so well myself, I've regressed back to being a sobbing mess like I was right after D-Day. The plan is move out, use the extra time to excel at work and take up a random hobby, like guitar. The gym is already a part of my life. I've never been good at the casual thing though, I attract clingy women. I will say this about rebounding, goodbye mind movies. I know the drill in theory, but I am just wondering why, after months of finding the strength to move on, am I second-guessing myself, and why do I miss her so much again after writing her off months ago? I feel like what's happened to me is that I regressed back several months back to the post-D-Day state. No appetite, crying, only thinking about the good times, wanting to call her. This after a few months of rebounding and wishing that she would leave the state or rebound herself and stop trying to R with me. It's like my emotions are trying to 180 me. Luckily, I'm wise enough to come here instead of sending her 30 pathetic texts an hour like I did after D-Day. I'm not actually trying to make anything work right now. I already tried that for a couple of weeks back in the spring. I'm just wondering why I'm so emotional all of a sudden after finally feeling good about myself in the past couple of months. After D-Day there was a voice telling me, you love her, you can get past this. She's worth it. Realizing the mistake, I kicked this voice to the curb after a while. But this voice came back over the weekend. I have a weird perspective because I work with a lot of younger people who make me feel old. Meanwhile, just about all of my friends have children now. So, at the same time I certainly feel like I'm missing the grown-up train. Yesterday should have been a hard day. One of my closest friends got married and I show up stag, exactly 1 month before I was supposed to be getting married. Most of the people there knew and loved my fiancé, but they also know what she did to me. A lot of people ask and I reply that I am most genuinely have a great time. Hanging with my boys, drinking, flirting with the available women. But dinner pissed me off. My cousin is at the table with her husband seated right next to me. He seems like a genuinely warm, friendly person. But I also know that he slept with another woman while they were engaged. She walked in on them. It was 10 years ago they reconciled, married and had 2 kids. Her immediate family has forgiven him. But I'm sitting through dinner smiling politely, nodding all the while wanting to beat his face in. Another, very intuitive, cousin of mine saw this and got me up on the dance floor. The anger disappeared immediately, but it left me thinking. There is now a whole segment of society with which I have no interest in interacting. I never had much in the way of respect for these people before, but now they just enrage me. Update. So, I log on to FB and see that my XW has decided to take a European this week. I'm absolutely livid. I'm the one who gets cheated on. I'm the one who moves out. I'm the one who has to buy new furniture. I'm the one living in a basement apartment like a 20-year-old. I'm the one who gave up the friends she didn't like, who would have been there for me through the worst. I'm the one spending money I don't have on a shrink to help me through this. And yet, she's the one who gets to go bouncing around Europe with her friend enjoying her newfound freedom. As if she deserves it. As if she deserves a vacation from all the heartache, uncertainty, and pain that she brought on herself. I hope she gets in a fight with her friend and then gets pickpocketed by a gypsy. Seriously though, while breaking up has got to be a million times easier than trying to R, it's still really hard. Especially when you know that the WS may never be in a position, or even have the capacity, to feel as much pain as they caused you. Plus, the date of our would-be wedding is only a couple of weeks away. I just needed to vent. I was so tempted to write something nasty on her FB wall. But, I know, at this point, it would just make me look bad. How do you guys deal with this sort of residual anger? Whatever, at least I'm the one getting a good time again. No legitimate gripe on the money front. She always made more than I, although ironically, I got a 20% bump after D-Day. She bought the furniture, appliances, and my money went to nights out and weekend getaways. Awesome that I have nothing to show for it. Why is she still among my FB friends? Most rationally, so I can avoid her. Sounds ridiculous, but I was going out for a date 2 weeks ago and noticed on FB that she had checked into the very bistro to which I was headed. Called my date and changed venues, playing it off as me just being spontaneous and whimsical. Not very alpha, but preferable to dragging some poor girl into that drama. It's also helpful to know which of our friends is she regularly spending time with. I was very shocked when one of her friends defriended her and took my side. I was also very surprised when one of mine, also a BS, stayed friends with her. I just got an "I wish you were here with me" email from the ex. She was describing things she was doing and how there was a layer of sadness because she kept thinking about things I would also enjoy over their jokes I would make, etc. She also mentioned how I would be able to handle some stressful situation she and her friend found herself in as evidence of how she even thinks of me in the hard times. She also congratulated me on my promotion, and, for that reason alone, I feel that I probably should respond. I'm very tempted to write back something like, "It's really easy to feel romantic when you're on a vacation, even in a stressful situation. But meanwhile I'm again finding myself putting in 10-hour days at work. Would you still feel that love for me then? Because the last time my job got like that you slept with a guy in a hotel. I don't want her back. I have a date this afternoon in fact, but I do want to be polite and the bigger person." The email was heartfelt and sincere, but lacked evidence of any real IC type work. I've already called her every name in the book and now I'm starting to find my happiness again. Any thoughts on how to reply? Side note, I will have to see her at least one more time since a couple of our boxes got mixed up when I moved out. There's no divorce to be had. Our wedding was to be at the end of this month. I already decided against R months ago. I knew I wasn't going to let it go. I had lost all respect for her and I just found myself hating her. I also realized the irony of R with her. She would never fully respect me as she once might have, nor ever really confronted the real issues behind her actions. The email I referenced later in this thread shows me that even still, she doesn't get it. But I do really appreciate the sentiments all the same and largely agree. I'm just not in the stage 5 betrayed beta male crisis mode I was in, say, 6 months ago. I just need to vent and this place is a lot cheaper than my shrink. I should consider myself lucky finding out before the marriage. It didn't come easy, but after spending time reading about this, and specifically here, I realize that now I'm actually starting to be in my mid-30s without any serious commitments. Even though I've got this huge scar, it seems a lot better out there for me than it was the last time I was single. The responses seem to be, ignore it outright, a short, unemotional, thanks, or unleash the rage. Someone else wisely pointed out that she was fishing for a dialogue. Meanwhile, in real life, a friend of mine pointed out that she really seemed to love drama. So, whether a genuine, but poor, attempt by her to try to R again or just to piss me off, I think she's fishing for drama. That's why it seems like option 2 is the way to go. With her, ignoring her would be just as dramatic as writing 12 paragraphs in response. Changing my email and phone number is not going to happen. In this day and age and in my line of work, that's like changing your name and leaving the country. I'm not going to make it harder for potential business opportunities to find me just because my ex-fiancé is bothering me. That's just silly. If I want to talk to her, it's certainly not anything I'm conscious of. In my conscious mind, I have no desire to talk to her other than to A, minimize drama down the road, or B, stay on the high road. Maybe that's all bull crap. Maybe deep down I still feel like I need to keep the lines open. And I have no idea why I would. None at this point. I should think about that. But whatever, I haven't sent any response yet. Given the circumstances, I think I'm in a pretty good position. I decided against R. Seriously, I finally popped the question and 4 months later she's boning some dude at a conference. Goodbye. I moved out, got my own place and have been NC with the ex. I got a promotion at work and have thrown myself into the new gig. I have been asked to take a working vacation abroad, basically representing the home office in a new endeavor. I am seeing a therapist 2 times a month. I have been seeing other women, but I am getting a little attached to one in particular. I have been spending a lot of time with my guy friends and improving those friendships. I have been talking much more with my FU and extended family. That all said, something's missing. My therapist doesn't think I'm depressed, but I trigger easily and get discouraged about where I am in my life. What I mean by that is I will see someone who was 3 years behind me in high school posting pictures of their wife, kids, house and dog while I have none of that. And it bums me out. I also screwed up my credit this year by letting myself get so depressed that I wasn't paying my bills. Good friend with perfect credit has helped me out with an action plan for that. And finally, if a doctor drew my blood right now, he'd finding nothing but beer and bar food. So, I think I need something else in my life, and I'm pretty open to suggestions. The old standby will be a gym membership and a weight regimen, but I'd love to hear about other suggestions. Something a bit more holistic. Any of you guys here taken up a hobby or an exercise regimen that accelerated the recovery process? I really am at a crossroads here, and I could either come out better than I've even been or wind up a sad sack of a human being. My comment: I guess OP has not gotten over the ex. And that is okay, it will take some time. You got to believe in yourself that you are a better person than her. It is not about just believing, it's about building yourself to that person, and your confidence will come out of that. Story 2. Let me start by saying I know my husband didn't physically cheat on me, or even have an all-out emotional affair. But he did have an E of some sorts. Not nearly as terrible as many stories I have read here, I'm sorry, but I find myself identifying with the feelings others post, so it has triggered a similar emotional reaction on my side. I'm going to try to be as succinct as I can, but it's tough because the story is long and complicated. In a nutshell, I found out that my husband talked to his old high school flame by phone, once prior to our marriage and then once again after being together 18 plus years. They also shared private emails. I had given him permission to be friends with her on Facebook after he pleaded with me to allow it, saying he didn't want to hurt her feelings, and at this point she was just a good old friend. I thought I was being too controlling or jealous, so I relented. Shortly after they became friends, she brought up the chat feature. He called me into the room to witness the conversation because he said he didn't want to hide anything from me. She was flirtatious with him. Have I really changed that much? And then at the very end of the conversation said, I won't forget our promise now and forever. What the hell? Of course, that sent me over the edge, but my husband said he had no clue what she was talking about. It had to be some old memory she had from their high school days. He promised me he would not talk to her on chat. We turned off the feature and would let me know if any inappropriate contact from her happened. I wasn't comfortable with it, but since he called me in the room to witness their conversation, I felt like he was being super forward and honest with me. I trusted him and again told myself I was being overjealous. He promised me no contact other than Facebook. Well, I find out now, a few years later, that after that conversation, they exchanged private emails and via that exchanged phone numbers. He says she called him, they only talked once. He said he wanted to find out about her ex-husband, whom she had married after breaking up with my husband. He says it was a mutual breakup, and he could have gotten her back if he wanted her, because he had actually done so once prior, resulting in her calling off the engagement. He was happy to hear he turned out to be a jerk. They talked about her new fiancé, and he said he was really happy for her because she seemed happy. He said he had a compulsion to speak with her, and he got closure afterwards, like he was happy and could put it behind him. It would be one thing if he needed to call and get closure before getting married to me. However, he actually already had that chance. He admits to me no, he called her about a year before we got married to tell her I've found the one, I'm good, and she was happy for him. But why? Why did he have to call and talk to her again, after 18 years of building a life with me? Why would he risk it all? Note that also before she got married the first time, she called him to tell him. So, it appears they have this bond between them that they developed in high school, where they call each other before they get remarried. He said they went through rough times together, difficult family situations. As teenagers, both got kicked out of their houses, and it created a bond because they share that. But she is just a good friend. It hurts me so to know he has an emotional bond like this with another woman, one that has lasted over 30 years. It doesn't sound like much to be upset about, but it has rocked me to the core. We had a pact between us. We always said that if one of us cheated on the other, it would be over. There would be no chance of reconciliation, no forgiving. That pact allowed me to be 100% vulnerable to him, to trust him 100%. My heart was completely open to him, and he stabbed me straight in it. I am so incredibly hurt. My belief in true love has been destroyed. I now do not think pure love is possible. We were that couple that everyone looked up to, admired. We held ourselves to a higher standard. We thought our relationship was nearly perfect. We talked about how lucky we were to have found each other. Yes, we talked like this even 18 years into being married. We were still so very much in love. And now, my belief in him has been shattered. I never thought he would hide something this big from me. Never in a million years did I think he would do something like this. Never did I think he would sneak around behind my back. I hate my life. I feel like 30 years went by between he and this old flame, yet it was never really resolved or over. I feel like I gave him 100% of my heart, but I didn't get all of his. If he had loved me with all of his heart, he never would have wanted to talk to her, let alone sneak around behind my back to do it. He knew I didn't want them to have any contact beyond Facebook. I had specifically asked him to not do so. Yet he disrespected my feelings and hurt me anyways. That isn't true love. I believed in him. I had him so high on pedestal. He has always been my good man who took care of me so well through the years. Now I don't know who he really is. He hid this from me, and I never in a million years thought he would do anything like this. Will I ever trust again? Should I? I don't want to let my guard down. I don't want to trust him again. He was such a great pretender. Fooled me completely. I feel like such a damn fool. I don't want to ever be hurt like this again. I let myself be vulnerable to him, and he stabbed me in the heart. At the same time, I don't want to be the pretender, pretending all is okay between us, when it is not. I am so hurt, so angry, I feel like could explode. Being angry is so not me. It's been a week and a half since I found out about their phone conversation. At some points I feel like I'm starting to reconnect with him. Then I remember finding her phone number in his cell phone, and I am angry and hurt all over again. I'm so afraid of trusting him again. It took away 3 things from me. 1. My belief in true love. 2. Feeling loved unconditionally by another. 3. Being able to trust another human being 100%. Thank you for reading my story. Again, I know he didn't cheat physically on me. We live states away from the old girlfriend. Plus I do feel in my heart that has not happened. However, I am hurt to the core emotionally, and I don't know how to move forward. He is very repentant, willing to go to counseling, etc., etc., which I guess we should do. He has given me full access to his email accounts, and I spent an entire day searching every single file on his computer. I also have full access to his phone. He said he knows he has to be an open book now, that he lost any rights to privacy after doing this to me. He let me deactivate his FB account, and I have changed the email and password for the account. I have blocked her email from his work email and blocked her phone number from being received by his phone. So, as far as I can tell, I have done all I can to keep her from contacting him again, although there are ways, I'm sure, if someone were motivated enough. He swears they did not communicate since that call 1 year before we married, that Facebook reconnected them after 18 years. He has been extremely remorseful, told me he never had any intention of rekindling anything with her, just felt that he had to talk to her. He says he justified it as okay in his mind by thinking that, and honestly never thought he would get caught. He didn't think I'd ever find out, so he didn't feel he was hurting me. Now that he sees how incredibly hurt I am, he realizes how wrong it was to even have this supposedly innocent conversation. He says his love and commitment to me never wavered. Hard to me to feel that, given his betrayal. He says he has come a long way over the past 2 weeks in seeing how damaging what he did was, that he took me for granted, and he so fears he may have destroyed the life we built together. He said initially when I discovered her phone number, his thought was uh-oh. I'm going to pay for this today, but tonight we'll have some great makeup bonding. Now, though, seeing that I am not just forgiving and getting over it, he is seeing exactly what he has done. He says, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make this up to you, if you'll let me. Very remorseful, working hard on talking, etc. So that all goes a long ways. I want to forgive him, because I want my old life back, if that's even possible. I was so incredibly happy and in love, even 18 years later. We will have a very nice long talk. I'll feel my love for him, definitely still love him, and it will feel so good. And then a few hours later I'll remember that he betrayed my trust, and I tell myself not to trust him again. Don't be a fool. I keep going back and forth between these feelings. I am extremely torn. For our 18th anniversary 2 weeks ago, just a few days prior to me finding her number, he got up early, took a picture of our wedding photo with his iPhone, sent it to his email, then uploaded it to his Facebook and tagged me, wishing me a happy anniversary and sharing with everyone how he met his soulmate and best friend, etc. And 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with bilateral breast cancer at the age of 43. I had to go through a bilateral mastectomy, radiation, and chemo. It has been a horrific past year and a half, but he has been there for me without waver over that time. After my mastectomies, I had drains for about 10 days. We had to strip the drain tubes 4 to 5 times a day, which is pretty gross, and he had to help me because my arms hurt trying to do it. I remember specifically apologizing to him that he had to do this for me, that I knew it was gross. He said, I like doing this for you. I'm like, what? How can you like doing this? And he replied, I like taking care of you. He has gone to all my major appointments with me, listened to me talk nonstop about my worries about recurrence, and helped me make so many major treatment decisions. He took such good care of me during chemo, came to every session and did this cold cap treatment thing for me where every 20 minutes he had to change a cold cap on my head to keep me from losing my hair. It worked. It was an exhausting 8-hour day of chemo and cold cap changes, and he was there every minute of it for me. He didn't want anyone else to do it, like a friend, because it made him feel good to be doing something to help me, in a situation where we felt we had little control since cancer had taken over our lives. When I was sick after chemo, he would work all day, then go and do all the grocery shopping after work, get all of my scripts, and basically do whatever he could to try to make life better for me so I could just focus on healing. When I was anxious during radiation, and having trouble learning how to do a breathing technique they required me to do prevent the rads from hitting my heart, he laid down with me on the floor and helped me practice my breathing technique. He has been so incredibly good to me over our lives. This man loves me more than anyone has ever loved me, except for my mother. It was as close to unconditional love as you could imagine, and I felt the same way about him. I had complete, 100% unbelievable trust in him. I knew he told me little white lies about guy stuff, which I didn't like when I found out, but it was nothing serious. I never thought, in a million years, that he would lie about something serious and sneak around behind my back, even if it was just so he could make one phone call to an old friend. I guess I had him up so high on a pedestal that learning about this makes it all the more devastating. When I found her phone number listed cryptically by part of her maiden name in his old phone, There is more to the story. In the fall, I had used his iPhone to check my Facebook, thought it was my account, and clicked on a private FB message. When I did, I saw a FB message exchange between them. She said her hubby was uncomfortable with a comment my husband made on her page and requested she unfriend him. She again made the comment about not forgetting their promise to each other now and forever. Heart breaks every time I write that. I was floored by this, didn't know what he wrote on her page, still don't, can't find it because she unfriended him. He says it was something very benign, so I tested him, wanted to make sure there was nothing going on because that message was so cryptic. A story came on TV about FB causing relationship problems, so I asked him if he had been in contact with her recently. He denied any recent contact. Yet she had just sent him that message, and he replied a few days earlier. He said they hadn't talked on FB for many months, and in fact weren't even friends anymore. He's good at telling partial truths, which makes him even more believable. So, I confronted him and said, let's just open up your Facebook account together and see. So, he was pretty pissed, but we did, and it showed that he had lied about the contact being recent. He downplayed it as lying, saying something like he didn't remember how long ago it was they talked. Come on, she just unfriended him 4 days ago. Lies. And as we were looked at the messages, simultaneously on our computers in the same room, the message poof disappeared. I was like, where did it go? And he had deleted it, right in the same room with me. He was pissed, obviously, and that just pissed me off more. I asked him if he had any other contact with her. Private email exchanges, telephone, text, anything. And he denied anything other than the Facebook messages I saw and the occasional posts on each other's walls. He became really defensive and said, why are you doing this? Making me feel bad for questioning him. I want to badmouth him so bad right now, trying to hold back the angry words. It is not easy. So, that episode of him lying to me put the first huge seeds of doubt in my head. I couldn't help it, and felt guilty, but I started snooping. He's aware of all of this now. I would check his work email, Facebook activity, phone activity. I found no current communication between them. Did find one old private email he had sent her from his work account back in 2018. His sent mail is archived. He had sent it to her Gmail account, saying he was sorry for something he wrote on her wall, that he'd never hurt her intentionally. That's something he always said to me, too. Thought it hurts. When I asked him what he was apologizing to her about, he said it was because he remembered it was the date of her first marriage. For real. Says he remembered it because it was on his dad's birthday. He was trying to congratulate her in some weird way of being free of her ex-husband. Even so, I told myself that he had been such a good man, that maybe it was some kind of little fantasy in his head, and he had to get it out of his system. I slowed down my snooping. I didn't like doing it, but I was trying to prove that there was nothing more going on so I could trust him fully again. I was truly getting over it when last week he gave me his old phone to use as an alarm one morning. After the alarm went off, I saw the contacts button and thought, didn't check the old phone. And there her name was in his directory. Half a year later, I feel like he betrayed my trust, and I don't know him as well as I thought I did. I feel such a sense of loss that I will never believe in him or admire him the way I did before. I want our old relationship back so badly. I admit it, I idolized him. I was deliriously happy. I felt like I was living the fairy tale most women dream about. And yes, I felt like that after even 18 years of marriage. People always remarked how special our relationship was. They could see there was something magical between us. We both would talk about how special our relationship was, how lucky we were because we knew most people did not have the type of bond we had. We discussed frequently our zero-tolerance policy, which was no cheating of any kind would ever be allowed, or we were over. This allowed us to have complete trust in each other. Unfortunately, we did not define it clearly enough. Apparently, lying without cheating or intention of cheating was not part of this policy in my husband's mind. He felt it was okay to call his old girlfriend behind my back because he did not have any intentions of it being anything more than catching up, and because they each talked about how happy they were with their current spouses. This is how he justified it to himself. He admits although he knew I did not want him to have any private contact with her, he went ahead with calling her because I knew I could get away with it. I know he has made a huge mistake and feels terribly about it. I have been working so hard on forgiveness and feel that I have forgiven him for being impulsive and selfish. Yet I still feel so sad and unhappy. I wonder if I truly have forgiven him, but I don't know how to get to that next level, despite therapy. I am grieving the loss of who we used to be and how I used to view him and the unquestionable trust I used to have in him. I never, ever thought he could hurt me, and now I know that he has the capacity to do so, and the capacity to lie to me. I can never get back my innocent view of him and our relationship. For some time, I kept trying to convince myself that we could get back what we had, but I don't think that it will ever get back to that level. I feel like we are tainted, damaged by this. I am so sad for what we have lost. I feel like I am never going to be happy again. I don't want anyone else. I love my husband so much. He is a good man at his core and has been by my side through some very terrible things. He has always been my greatest supporter. How do I let go of who we were and be happy with who we are now? My therapist says I am grieving, and I just have to go through this stage. No way to know how long it will last. I thought it might help me to hear from others who have reconciled, made it past this stage, and feel true happiness again. Please tell me you are out there. Since he has seen how much devastation it has caused us and pain he has caused me, I believe he feels terrible about his actions. He has said, I will spend the rest of my life trying to make this up to you, and I will never take you for granted again. And what have I done? I fear I have damaged us, tainted us. But yet there are still times that he gets so frustrated that I am not over it yet and still says things to try to diminish what he did, like I know what I did was very bad. And I don't want to minimize my actions, but I don't think it was so bad as to warrant the way you are reacting. When he says things like that, it sets me back, of course. He just wants it to be over and get back to our life the way it used to be. I feel like I have lost so much more than he has. If I am happy, and I am not unhappy all the time, just really having a bad spell right now, then he is happy as a clam. To be honest, I want him to hurt as much as I have been hurt, lose as much as I have lost. I know that is wrong, but I realized the other night that this is true. We had another fight where he said I am the queen of guilt trips. It is true. I've been trying to make him see how much he has hurt me, how much he has damaged us, because I think it is so unfair how my life has changed so much, yet it seems he can forget and be happy again. This is still very consuming to me, yet he can forget about it unless I bring it up. I really think he has this wild side to him that he has repressed since committing to me. He had a very wild life prior to meeting me. Lots of women. He has told me that when he married me, he knew he was putting that side of his life away, and he doesn't regret doing that one bit. But apparently exciting situations like this bring that side of him to the surface. Add some alcohol and the inhibitions are lowered. Scary. My comment, anyone got advice for OP? I think the resentment will continue to build up as the marriage keeps moving forward. For the female viewers out there, what is your advice? Comment down and I will bring another video soon.